Here we are, Johnny and I on the Mike and Tom show.
I know, I feel comfortable right here.
Yeah, you're looking comfortable, so I'm getting ready.
Let me see. Ooh, we're nice and settled in.
Yeah, so if you could like us and share us out there,
show some love.
Yeah, hit that little love. Come on, hit that button and get us out there. If you're watching us, you like us. And so today we are going to be paying Mike Bedreau, Tulare County Sheriff. Last week we had him on our first segment, and this time, Johnny, he was on your show.
Yeah, and you know what I liked about it? And I'm gonna be really honest. I think most people know I'm a pretty transparent dude. I don't like politics. I have a really hard time with watching it, with listening to it, with even interacting with politicians. This was different.
Because he's real.
He was real.
And you know, Johnny, he has a plan, and I like that. I like men that have a plan. And there again, as a Tulare County Sheriff, he's got 1,000 employees that work with him there in Tulare. And he said he has a very purposeful intent to help parents parent. And that's what your show's all about right now.
That's everything right now.
Yeah, Johnny, and I think he said it on your show. He said if we can change the parenting, we can change the United States and we can change the world. And I agree with that, John. What would you think?
Oh, that's the whole purpose of the show. You know, what I've seen, and I'm a clinician, I deal with behaviors, I deal with diagnoses, I deal with all that all day. But at the end of the day, I don't care what your diagnosis is, it comes down to your training.
Yeah. And Johnny, maybe you see that it's carrying through. And I know as parents, we've got to sometimes we have to provide the tough love, and it's something that is, I think every parent, you've probably heard it from either your dad Hector or your mom Elena. This hurts me more than it hurts you. And when you're young, you're like, I don't get it. But now when you're looking at your son and your daughter, John, you get that, right?
I understand that.
But the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child, and it's for their good because it's interaction with adults when they get older.
I even started. I always do random little sing songs, but I started coming along with true love. True love comes with discipline. Because this is, in that same book, the Bible, it also says, if you spare the rod, you hate your child.
It does. Get some tougher language, doesn't it?
It hates your child.
And I think, if we're out there today and we can see it just on the news every day, we have a lot of college students that don't have any idea what they're protesting about.
No, they're still trying to figure out what they're going to major in. You don't know nothing when you're trying to figure out your major.
But if it's anti-establishment, I'm all in, right?
I was all in for that when I was young until I got some work experience.
Yeah. So I love that. There again, we do believe that Mike Bedreau is running against Vince Farms, and we like Vince's show. And I thought last week I would nudge a little bit, and Vince didn't bite because we're still sitting at a point where I'm waiting for Vince's people to recontact me. We've had a little conversation, waiting for him to recontact me. So if you're out there, Vince, we want to show you some love, brother. We want you on the show. We don't want to just make it a one-sided thing, but we do like our friend and fellow believer in Christ, Mike Bedreau. And he lets it hang out there.
That's what I like about him.
He's not afraid of involving his faith in his law enforcement or encouragement of his fellow law enforcement.
To me, there's nothing better than somebody who does good work for a living, hard work, puts it in, and then still prioritizes his family while living in the adventure.
Yes.
I like Mike Bedreau for that.
I like that. So there again, we're going to run into the show that we've pre-recorded already, but don't go because this is being run live. First time you've seen it. And if you're interested in the SB20 congressional race, which is down between Vince Farm and Mike Bedreau for both the intern position, I think that's important to know because we're going to be voting again, I think, on the May 21st for the seat that Kevin McCarthy left vacant from now until December. And then we're going to vote in November for January 4 more years.
Yep.
So why don't you bring us in, Johnny, and we'll get this show on the road.
All right, everyone, stay tuned, enjoy, like, and subscribe.
Parents, like I say, you change a whole community. And so we believe in that. And I believe that that's what's prepared me to take on the leap to Congress, too. I have ideas to change the entire district. I have ideas in changing America. What can I bring to the table, led by God? And can we change America at the next level? And I believe that my experience allows me to really make some significant impacts.
Wow, we would have never believed this. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. Go out there and listen to us. So we're excited about it. We're glad you're excited about it too.
What up, everyone? Welcome back. I have here, a celebrity for once in my shows. We have Mike Boudreau.
There you go.
Yeah,
Nice job.
I got it.
I appreciate
I'm gonna
it.
say it faster. Mike Boudreau.
There you go.
And he is running for Kevin McCarthy's slot.
I am.
Can you explain that a little more to me?
Well, I mean, I never really thought that I would be running for a congressional seat. There's a lot of storyline that goes in behind it, but I do find myself running for it. I'm the elected sheriff of Tulare County, and so I mentioned earlier I already have a job that I love very much. But, there's times that...
That's a good place to be in.
It's a good place to be, but then there's times you find yourself in life that, you move forward into different realm that you think that you can do a good job at to make a difference for people on a grand scale, and that's where I find myself, is running for this seat.
Yeah, man, that's a big deal. All right, I want to make sure we do a shout out to Covenant Coffee. They help with foster kids. You know what I like about them is because I work with foster kids too.
Okay.
Hard work. And the good thing about them is they continue it even for the emancipated youth, which is after they graduate, they're 18, they got nowhere else to go, they get a job, they get the help. Shout out to Covenant Coffee. So with Sheriff Boudreau, I want to get it right. With Sheriff Boudreau, he has a new journey, which is going to take him to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And anytime you jump a level, that's not easy.
No.
It's difficult. There's some fear there. There's new opportunities, but at the same time, it's going to be a change of lifestyle too, huh? What are your biggest fears jumping into this?
Well, some of the concerns would be, I'm a dad.
Oh.
I'm a father who has 2 teenage kids in high school, and I didn't want to go off into another path like this until my kids were out of high school.
Yeah.
I wanted to be there for them.
Dang.
I'm the dad who takes the friends to and from practice. I'm the dad who shows up at every game that there is. I go to every dance recital. And so there's a little bit of heartache in the fact that there is a lifestyle change, and my kids, they understand it. They're not necessarily comfortable at this point with it, but they do understand it. And my wife, I'm a husband who does the dishes and goes grocery shopping, and I like to be
good man right there.
I like to be the guy that's helping around the house and not the whole burden fall upon her. And so for me, having to say I win, if I am fortunate enough to win, that I find myself in DC 4 days a week out of the week.
Oh, it's 4 days a week.
Yeah, and so that can be incredibly challenging.
Wow.
I don't really want to be away from my family. I
How
love
many
being
months at
with
a
my
time?
family. Well, you'd have to look at the schedule. The schedule changes by the speaker, but there's times during the year where you have a whole month off, that type of thing. But does it coordinate with how my kids are?
So for the most part, you're going to be in DC.
I'll be in DC a lot.
That's a big
It's
change.
a huge change. And how do we handle it emotionally? How do we handle it, as a family? But having said that, running for the position of sheriff, it's an elected position. I had to run for office. I had to win the seat. There's a lot of campaigning that takes place and relationship
That's stress
developing.
right there.
But my family's done it.
Yeah.
My kids get it. They've done it. And so now that we're campaigning and we're out and talking to people, and some people that are new that we've never met before, I have to get my name out there so that people know who I am, so they understand that they're comfortable with that's the guy we want to vote for. And so my daughter, she's going to be a senior this next year. She's a junior now. I don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
But that was probably going to be some of the most challenging for me because I've been in law enforcement 37 years, and I know you have to focus on your family. And
Such a big deal.
It's a big deal. But I'm willing to, tackle this with the support of my family. But emotionally for everyone, we have to put a lot of prayer and make sure that that everyone's gonna be good. And
Do you-
that's my biggest concern.
Do you think the process of having to run already in the campaign, you already got the process down for running. Do you think that's helped prep you and your family?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've run for office before. My kids were little, and I'm a graduate of the FBI Academy. And,
Oh,
and so
okay.
when I went back to FBI, they were without me for a while,
Wow.
about 4 months. And so there's different things in my career that they have to get comfortable with. I'm also the California State Sheriff President, and so every
You got a lot of different things
got
going
a lot
on.
of things going on. Every 2 months, I'm out for 3 days at a time. I'm going to these meetings and running the meetings, and
So that means you're ahead of all the sheriffs
Yep.
within the state of California. That's a big job right
well, I
there.
lead the group. I mean, each sheriff has their own responsibility as elected sheriffs in the state, and they're responsible for their county, and they have their following. And so I manage the meetings and run the meetings, but I also work with, our lobbyists as well as our legal team, and,
Yeah.
and we fight against the legislation that's happening in California.
Because
We're
you
not
guys are the
comfortable.
ones that help lead what
do.
laws are what laws are going to be passed, what laws are going
Right.
for. That's a
Well,
big
and a lot
deal.
of times we oppose them. We'll go in and show opposition to those laws. Not
right.
that it doesn't always win or go in our
Yeah.
favor, but at least we're the voice for the people.
All right, I like that.
Yeah.
Man, you got a lot of big roles,
Yeah.
Sheriff Boudreaux.
We have a
lot.
lot.
Boudreaux,
You got
I'm
it
getting
right.
it. I'm getting it.
We do have a lot of big roles, and I'm the president of the California State Sheriffs. I'm the chairman of the Central Valley HIDA, which is the Central Valley Task Force, as well as running the sheriff's office. We run about $120 million budget. We have
Wow.
about 1,000 people that work for me. We're not the biggest sheriff in the state by any means. We're definitely not the smallest. So we do a lot of work, and then I have my family, and that's probably out of everything I've mentioned is the most important to me.
That's the most. Me too. I'm a young buck. I barely got off the milk. I'm eating solids. I'm right about that
Right,
point.
right.
But
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I'm in the same boat as you is my family has to be number one.
Number one.
I've grown up around a lot of pastors and a lot of ministers, and I've seen them make the same mistake as Eli in the Bible. Starting family or trying to start schools, being away from family, not holding your kids accountable, and then all of a sudden you got kids that aren't serving the Lord.
Well, I don't want my 14-year-old. He's very influential right now. I want him to see a dad that's responsible and doing the right thing. But, he's been out to do some things with me, and I just reiterate the importance of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And he buys off and gets it, but he also wants to be that teenage boy who's hanging out with his buddies and
yeah.
friends. But I want the right buddies and friends. I don't
Yeah.
want him making mistakes, and I want him accountable by the dad. And so I've been there. And so I have a hard time thinking I'm going to be in D.C. 4 days a week.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into that question in a bit.
Sure.
I want to know how you're going to deal with it and how you cope with it. But I want to get to something else first. You have a lot of big roles now. Your biggest role is a husband. Second to the biggest is father.
Yeah.
And then next you're the sheriff. And then you help lead the groups that really help, the sheriffs that help govern our state.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well,
What are your habits, man?
I really think that, we get prepared over the course of time.
Okay.
And there's a lot of life experiences that have set the way for me to be prepared for something like this. I'm not nervous. I'm not anxious. I can do the job. I'm confident.
Wow.
I'm not worried about what would be in store for me. It's not
Wow.
going to be a second guessing game for me. I've dealt with politics. I've dealt with the federal system. I'm the only candidate in this race that's been invited by then Donald Trump to be on the border, work with
Wow.
Donald Trump as well as President Bush.
Wow.
During the time I was invited back to the president.
Dang, so you've met presidents.
I've met presidents. I've
legit.
met many people, but all of that is experience that has led me to be able to be confident and comfortable where I'm at today.
Wow.
Those life experiences and how we deal with them, whether they're mistakes, that are failures, or they're successes, is what makes us who we are.
What are your habits that you use and you
Well,
do to maximize yourself
For me,
to do that?
I got to get to church on Sunday. You have to refresh your spirit. You have to refresh your mind. There's oftentimes I'll get into a Sunday service and I'm just down. But by the end of worship service, I'm feeling better and I'm asking forgiveness and God is restoring me and I'm around fellow believers, and that's important. I work out a lot. I go to the gym. I try to get there at least 4 days a week, and that helps generate the physical part and the mental awareness
that
and
chemicals
acuity.
going.
And,
Oh, yeah.
And then the other is that I watch my kids. I spend time with my kids. That is rejuvenating and energizing. And so when you combine all of that together and you're able to balance it all, that's where you find success.
So what you're saying, as long as you focus on the things that are meaningful for you, right? Church, Lord, you go there, you get your reset. Not only do you get fed, but that's where you get to really connect and talk to God.
Well, and I can tell you, just driving down here today, we're about 45 minutes away from Bakersfield, where I live. I turned on YouTube in regards to learning about the Holy Spirit. I had a channel where I was listening to one of the pastors preaching coming into town. And as I come into the parking lot, that's what I was doing.
Wow.
I was listening to that because, you have to make sure that you keep the first things first.
Well, how do you get through the journey that you're going through with fighting criminals without the Holy Spirit?
Well, you don't, right? I mean, I was mentioning as we were talking earlier, we have many believers in uniform.
Yeah.
And I think that there's more and more believers, men and women, in uniform than we've ever had before.
Wow.
And I really believe that America as a whole, Central Valley and the high desert, they support their law enforcement.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
it's really important that as you come through this career that you keep all of that in balance. And I think it's important that we talk to young officers about what that means for the future. Because as a young officer, look, you want to jump fences, chase bad guys, and send people
that
to jail,
adrenaline.
get that adrenaline. But what we're needing to teach more and more now is, what is the community interaction and what is your engagement with that one person who you've had 12 contacts today, but you're the only officer they saw today. Yeah. And I say this all the time. People say, well, first impression is everything. No, it's not. Your first impression is nothing. It's how you made people feel when you left.
Wow.
Right? And so that's what we're teaching our staff. How did you make them feel when you left? Not how you made them feel when you arrived. And so we've made a culture change with that aspect.
Wow. You have your church, you have your physical fitness, and then you make sure you align everything with your family. You have your family's priority number one. And that gives you, because what the research is showing is when you align your life, your time with your values, the things that are meaningful for you, that's when you actually have the most motivation. Mm-hmm. I feel like you're the evidence of that.
Yeah.
But then you have, I kind of want to go down a rabbit hole.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
I'm talking about how you're changing the game with your officers. About how you're focusing. And I think this is probably another way that I think you really function is you're telling them to be more relational.
Yep.
If there's something that I found, because I'm in the psychology field, the therapy field, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, what the best skill, what the most valuable thing that I have is my relationships with the kids, relationships with the clients, relationships with the parents. Without that, it doesn't matter what kind of science you got. It doesn't matter what you got. If you don't have that relationship, you have nothing.
Well, and then you as a leader of an agency, my responsibility is to make sure that they feel cared for.
Wow.
And some of the best, like today.
Wow.
Let me just say this, talking to you, okay? As I put my hand on my shoulder and I appreciate what you did.
Yeah.
So does everybody in the hallway when I do the same. Appreciating them for a job well done, but recognizing them as an individual.
Wow.
And not just doing it for the mechanics of patting you on the shoulder, but the sincerity of what I'm doing by patting you on the shoulder. And that changes a culture. And pretty soon what happens when they see that from the leader, they're doing it to the community.
Wow.
And it took 3 to 5 years to get that culture changed. But we've done a pretty good job at it. I can tell you when I first took over as the sheriff, we had on average 130 internal affairs complaints a year.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Oh my gosh.
I can tell you now what we average now, 15.
Wow.
15 internal affairs complaints. It's because we've changed the mindset. We've changed the culture to be relational with our community. This last year, what I did is we developed a youth development program. And all law enforcement has youth programs, right? But what we decided to do is create football, soccer, basketball, bowling for free.
Oh, man.
We reached 30,000 children last year for free.
Oh, man.
They all got to play football, basketball, bowling of all things.
Oh, man.
We have a traveling basketball team that goes up and down the state representing the sheriff's.
That is so cool.
So what did we do? Here's what I tell my youth team. If we reach the children, we've reached the parents.
Yeah.
If we reach the parents, we've just changed the community.
Wow.
And so that's where we believe the relational culture change is for law enforcement up and down. Well, what I believe in my agency, what we've done.
I'm going to say that's interdisciplinary. That's education. Mm-hmm. That's 100% there. Because I deal with the hot cases.
Sure.
The really hot cases. And I always hope for this. When I walk into the meeting, the kid comes up, runs up and hugs me.
I love it.
Dr. Ezel!
Of course.
And I look at that parent, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because how can you be mad at me if your kid loves me?
Well, and let me say this: when we reach those kids, we've had people say, "Oh, you guys, you're spending the money on these kids programs." Well, it's all donated for one. It's not taxpayer dollar.
Yeah.
It's all donated through a foundation. But we showed a 40% reduction in juvenile crimes in those areas where we presented those programs. 40%, almost 50% reduction.
Man.
Right? We had kids who were failing in class. They got up to C's and D's at least. You go, wow, D's, C's. Yeah, but they're working on improving.
Hey, C's and D's get degrees.
They get degrees.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was a C and D student.
Yeah, I had a few.
I'm glad to get there.
I had some of my bachelors.
Yeah, I do too. I got my master's and bachelor's now. But the idea behind it is that you can't play in the program if you're failing.
Wow.
And so
set
they
standards.
worked in making achievements. And when we had a kid that would reach a D and get a D, he would be praised.
Yeah.
Right? You remember that hand on the shoulder I gave you? We would give it to the kids. And I have an entire team. They don't go in uniform. They go in T-shirts and they're with the kids, but they know they're deputy sheriffs. So we talk about that on the community scale, but that's what that relationship is internally as a leader. And each of us can be leaders. Right, and so I've been asked, what defines a leader? It's really hard to define, but every one of us internally know it when we see it.
Yeah. Wow. I'll say this: what you're doing, I wouldn't even call it community outreach. I would say you're loving the community.
I love my community.
And you're loving them in the high value points.
I love it. I love my community. I love being the sheriff, and that's what
and
I
the
think.
high impact, especially because you're focusing on the kids.
Kids.
And you're at the right spot too.
But if you focus on the kids, you're going to reach the parents.
Yeah.
You reach the parents, like I say, you change a whole community.
Wow.
And so we believe in that. And I believe that that's what's prepared me to take on the leap to Congress, too. I have ideas to change the entire district. I have ideas in changing America. What can I bring to the table, led by God? And can we change America at the next level? And I believe that my experience allows me to really make some significant impacts.
Wow. I was telling Tom earlier, because we were talking about politics and that, and I've been out of the game a lot because just being disheartened. So it's hard. Sometimes I choose not to pay attention, partly because I have a temper, and I get upset, and I'm not going to get upset about something I can't control. But talking to you and seeing you and how you operate, I can already say I'm going to be more involved just seeing you.
You should be.
I mean that. Just because I can say that there's somebody I can trust. I can say that just from the short conversation, you have integrity, and it's the way you operate too. It's not because of your title.
Thank you.
And it's not because of you even saying you're a Christian. That doesn't matter to me. I'm a pastor's kid. So saying you're a Christian means nothing to me. I've seen it all. But it's because of the way you operate from love. From a law officer, from a peace officer perspective, you can go a whole different route.
I can.
But you chose to go a route of love, and you go after the high target areas, the high impact. But you do it in such a way where it's starting from you first. As a leader, where I think you've realized that people have a love language. The touch, that's a big deal, man. When you did it to me, I was kind of like, oh, I thought you were complimenting me. I was like, what did I do?
I was trying to make a point.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. But you doing that, and you started that from your officers feeling love. You can't, it's hard to show love when you don't feel love.
I'll tell you, and it's got to be in your actions too. And I tell my staff several things. One is, don't ever tell me what you think I want to hear.
You want real.
I want real. Tell me the issues and let's address them. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Make sure that we're recognizing job well done. Right? We have to make sure that we're recognizing jobs well done. And that we have to put ourselves as administrators and managers, are we doing the right job by making sure that people know the rules, the expectations, what our culture needs to be? And so there's a lot of great things that really can take place if you take ownership with it.
They could plug you in anywhere you'd be successful.
Well,
you could plug you in. Man, that is
and that's why I'm running for
brilliant.
Congress.
But that's a brilliant process. Extreme ownership. There's no other. Mike talked about that too. There's no other way to operate.
Well, and you have to mean it though. And I tell them too. Like I said, look, I try to be as humble as I possibly can. I'm blessed, man. God's blessed me. I'm sitting in a role that only as a child, I never even dreamed I'd be sitting as the
I like
elected
that.
sheriff. I'm
I like
blessed.
that.
But if I ever lose my humble, it's time to step away from it.
Yeah.
You have to be humble in your position. And if you're going into a position for greed or power or title, you're in it for the wrong reason. And for me as sheriff, I love being the sheriff, but quite frankly, I forget that I'm sheriff. Because I'll talk to anybody at any level, doesn't matter. I'll talk to the guy who barely makes a wage out on the street. I always go and talk to security guards who are working hard, pulling a paycheck. Or I'll talk to the richest guy down the street, but it won't be any different than any level that I talk to because they're human beings, right?
Yes.
And I don't mean to be over melodramatic about that.
No, I don't think that
you have
is.
to recognize the fact that you're no better than anyone else. You're just representing everyone else.
But you know what we look for? You know what I look for in a leader? I want real.
Yeah.
But I don't want, but this is the thing. What I mean is I need someone to be available for everyone to be real around him.
Here's the deal. When I give speeches, I've had news reporters say, "Hey, Sheriff, can we get your speech?" I didn't write a speech. I talk from the heart. You will never have me with papers in front of me. Every forum I've been to, every speech that I give, I don't have papers in front of me because I
Wow.
know it. I have the knowledge of it, and I speak from the heart. And you know why I speak from the heart? Because I don't know how many times I have seen people read papers and I know it's fake. They don't mean it. People decipher between real and fake, and people know.
Yeah.
If you speak from the heart and you speak with real words and you mean it, people feel it. If you read from a teleprompter, if you read from a piece of paper, or you have regurgitated a script that you've practiced for the last 30 days, people say, that's his speech. I don't have the same speech twice.
Wow.
If we did this interview a half hour from now, it won't be the same words
Wow.
because you got to speak from the heart.
And you know, and this is the one thing you get when someone allows everyone to be real around them. It's a guarantee they're going to have integrity.
That's right. I agree with that.
It's a guarantee they're going to have integrity, and where integrity lives, that's where truth lives. So I am so happy to see that you're going to be running for it.
We're trying.
You got me excited. Honestly, you do.
I'm excited, and I think that we have good things that are going to come. I have no pipe dreams of going in as a freshman congressman if I'm so lucky to win to get in there and make the world change overnight. But what I can tell you is that I'll develop relationships. I'll get in there and make sure people know I care. I'll make sure that the people in this district hear from me on a real personal level, and we'll try and make some good things happen together.
So I was going to ask what's your process of being successful. So essentially, you're stating it again. It's being relational.
You have to be relational. You know, I, as the sheriff, as the president of the Sheriff's Association, I deal with the governor's office on a regular basis. We deal with legislation. I deal with the Department of Justice and Attorney General. I deal with the legislators, the assembly people, those that are in the assembly, as well as our senators. I do it on a regular and ongoing basis. I deal with the federal government. I've worked with McCarthy, Valadeo, Nunes and Valadeo and McCarthy have all become friends of mine. And that's not because I'm sheriff. That's because I've developed those relationships.
How do you, you know, a guy like me, I'm a young buck, and I would love to just, I want to do more. You know, that's why I do the show, because I want to maximize what I'm doing. How do you maintain those relationships and still balance it, even though there's such different personalities? I get triggered from people so fast, and especially when it comes to politics. I blow a gasket real quick. How do you maintain those relationships?
Surgical focus.
Elaborate. I want to
Well,
hear more
you
about
have a heart doctor that goes in. You don't want him to go in guessing. You want him to put some energy into what he studied, right? You want him to know when he goes in for heart surgery, he knows what he's doing and talking about. Same be true when you're developing relationships. You have to put some study and energy into it, right? And so when you and I have a conversation, it's like heart surgery. I know what I'm doing, and I know you, and I've studied your heart. Same be true. If you don't take the time to make a phone call or visit with somebody or have a cup of coffee or write a letter or email or text message and they feel as if you've forgotten them, they'll forget you.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, the highest quality, to me, the highest currency to me, people always say is time. I'm like, nah. It's my attention, my eyes. So for you, it's giving people your direct attention.
Surgically focused.
Is how you, exactly right. You have to be attentive in order to be surgically focused, but you have to be attentive with people in order to really understand and maintain the relationship. Because it's almost, you know what I realize is again, I get triggered fast. I have a temper, but when I learn about them, when I hear them, once I understand, all of a sudden it drops.
Well, I can tell you, you know, I've dealt with people who don't like me, right? Not everybody likes Mike Boudreau.
Well, I could tell. This is why, because you're real. That's why I was saying, like, you hanging out with all those people, how do you get along with it? Because I know you're real.
Yeah. Well, I don't always agree with them, right? And I'll stand up on my own 2 feet and push back where I need to push back, because what you don't want in Congress or as a position of sheriff is weakness.
Oh, no.
You have to be confident. And you have to be able to stand up.
I don't even want to see that in the classroom.
Sometimes when you do that, it offends people.
Yeah.
Much like when the mask mandates come down from the governor's office. I said, we're not doing it. I said, we're not doing that. I've got other people. I got real criminals to arrest,
Good for you.
not people wearing masks. I said, I'm not doing that. And so that took some boldness, because the whole world was against me. And they said, look, it's a dangerous
love the
environment.
guts.
And I said, no, we're not going to do it. When it come to BLM, I put a tweet out. I think I told you guys earlier about the tweet. I am not allowing defunding the police to be something that's acceptable.
Yeah.
I've stood and been at funerals of men and women who have been shot and killed
Wow.
by people who are here illegally.
Wow.
Listen, I will not passively step aside to develop a relationship just so you get your way. So there's a balance between standing your ground and working on something together that's the benefit for the overall good.
Wow. And it's being real, it's being focused, being respectful, and letting people keep their dignity, but still standing up for what you got.
Stand for what you believe in.
Well-
The same be true when they wanted to close our churches. I said, we're not doing it.
I like that.
I put a message out on social media. I said, for all those who want to enjoy their church service this Sunday, enjoy your First Amendment.
Wow. Well, Sheriff Boudreau, I want to close out with this question. You have one of your biggest difficulties, one of your hardest battles in the next few years. You know, because I'm gonna vote for you. So
Good.
I'm thinking you're gonna win.
I
Let's
love
just
it.
throw it out there.
Well,
You
I
can win.
hope we got a long way to go. but-
Yeah, let's just throw it out there. How are you going to manage that gap between you and your family? And I want to know, like, relationally, but also for you, how are you going to cope with that?
It's going to be a challenge. As the kids get older, it makes it a little easier because they're becoming more and more independent, which is nice. And they've become little Mike Boudreaux, which is nice. And I like seeing them, and they're strong and they're hard-willed, and I appreciate that. But I'll miss my wife because I enjoy being with her and my children at night, and that's going to be a challenge for us. But you know, what we have said is, look, there's going to be lots of phone calls, lots of FaceTime. We're going to have you travel to me. We're not going to just have me there. You're going to come to me too. We're going to spend time in D.C. if I'm fortunate enough to win. You come there. I'll show you what I'm doing on a daily basis. Let's go enjoy each other's company. And as you guys grow and we're able to be in this position, that it's going to be surgically focused on the relationship.
Yeah. So even during that time, you're going to share that journey and almost make it an adventure for them.
We're going to make it a family adventure.
Oh, man. Brilliant.
Yeah, we have to. I want the kids to know that I'm not just going off and forgetting them. I'm going, but bringing you with me when I can. When I'm here for you. I'm on the phone with you. I'm on FaceTime with you, or whatever that social media platform allows. And that they know that I haven't forgotten anything, that I'm their dad first, and that I want to know what's going on through their day. And then for my wife, you know, she's very strong. She's a principal in the school district that we're in, and she
What
is an
school
admin-
district?
She's in Burton School District outside of Porterville.
Oh, okay. You know, I think I worked with her.
Maybe.
I worked for Portable Unified for a while. Did she ever work at Portable Unified?
She was with Lindsay Unified and then went to Burton, but she knows all the Porterville Unified people.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There was the chief's wife was a principal
That was
for
Crodel.
Porterville. Yeah.
Her and my wife are very good friends.
What a small world.
It becomes a small world quickly, yeah. So she's a principal at one of the districts, and she puts a lot of energy into her job. I think she's really, really great at it. That's where I get a lot of the information as far as the education issues and challenges when it comes to the congressional federal side. But you know, we spend time as we can, and we've been through this as sheriff, and you know, we're going to be okay. But you do have to make sure that you're working on it.
So the key is making that time, because you're not going to have that much time. You're going to be.
Well, it's like now. I'm campaigning all over this district. I was in Ridgecrest yesterday. I was in Clovis the day before. Bakersfield 4 times this week. But I'm on the phone with my wife while I'm traveling. She comes with me when she can. She campaigns with me. She's in the car with me, and we're traveling. And so you have to make those moments. She could have easily stayed at home and gotten her work done, but she goes, "No, we're going to go with you." And so she hopped in the car. And
Do you
we
like
came down.
schedule it, or do you just spontaneous?
I'm telling you, my wife will say on a Sunday night, "What's schedule look like?"
Okay.
And she goes, "I got to get on your calendar. We're having a little technical issue where I can't get her on my calendar." She
Oh,
goes,
so you guys calendar, you guys have a visual schedule.
oh yeah.
So you don't just go, guess it. You have
No
a visual
way.
schedule. You're surgically focused on
Oh
the schedule.
boy,
huh?
schedule is
So
lined out.
you're the time. It's not like you're guessing. You hope you have time. You're literally looking at your visual schedule and
Daily,
putting time.
if not hourly.
See, that's where I want to.
Yeah. Even before I came here, I was putting things within my calendar to complete. I had some things that I timelined out, knowing that I could get finished before I came here. It's all about calendar, man. It is. We find it odd when we have an open 4 hours. Truly. We never have an open 4 hours.
Wow.
Except to sleep.
Wow, man.
Kids are great at helping out, but no, they're older.
Last question.
Sure.
How are you going to manage being away from your family 4 days a week? As
Not
a
going to
man?
like it.
Like, as a man,
Yeah.
being away. How are you going to manage that? Like, how are you going to deal with that?
I'm not going to like it. And quite frankly, I know people in Congress. It's not glamorous. Oftentimes they're sleeping on the couch and they're showering in the gym. And
You don't think that, you always kind of see the news misportrays everything.
yeah, no, it's not glamorous. It's hard work. I mean, some of those guys are in session till 2, 3 in the morning and back again at it at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're sleeping on the couches and trying to get things done. And there's a lot of good people in Congress trying to get things done. And that's why I tell people, I say, hey, don't look at people on the news channels who are being Hollywood. There's a lot of good information that comes out of there, but a lot of it's distorted. You got a lot of good men and women, Republican and Democrat alike, trying to really do good things for this country.
Right on. Well, thank you, Sheriff Boudreaux.
Yeah, thank you.
Boudreaux.
Yeah,
We'll say
you got
better.
it. You got it right.
I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate the conversation. You're just being transparent and real.
Yeah.
I feel like the audience is going to love this.
Well, I hope so.
And I am so glad that you're running, because now I'm going to pay a little more attention.
Please do.
Because I have some trust in what's happening.
Yeah, please do.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Thank you.